money.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Talk, Talk, Talk with me and your host, Donald Trump. Today's topic is something very close to my heart. Climate change and, more importantly, acid rain. To start us off, Dr. Rothstein has graduated from Harvard with a PhD in atmospheric sciences. She is now devoting her life to changing people's perspectives on climate change at the center of the atmosphere in Mexico. Here we are going to make a call to Dr. Rothstein herself. Let's dial her up.
Every day, our world is burning fossil fuels, such as coal and oil, to make electricity so we can power our cars, buses, and airplanes, as well as electricity for appliances such as televisions and video recorders, and most importantly, heat and light through our city. The air contamination produced does not remain in our atmosphere forever, though. It reappears as acid rain. Acid rain is precipitation that contains high levels of nitric and sulfuric acid. For those of you who aren't familiar with nonmetal oxides, acids and bases, chlorine dioxide, which is ClO2, is a nonmetal oxide. Hydrochloric acid, which is HCl, is an example of an acid, whereas sodium hydroxide, which is NaOH, is an example of a base. Adding together an acid plus a base, your outcome is a neutralized reaction. So HCl plus NaOH equals to NaCl plus H2O, which is water. That's just a quick review of those. Based on the logarithmic scale, normal water has a pH of a bit less than 7. However, acid rain can have a pH of approximately 5 to 5.5. Acid rain may weaken the plants and animal life it becomes exposed to and can diminish the pH of soil, causing trees and other plants to die. Acid rain is gradually eradicating irreplaceable ancient monuments and temples in my country, Mexico, and we need your help immediately. Within 100 years of time, acid rain may entirely destroy some Mayan inscriptions and the cultural heritage in my country. Ancient Maya structures, monuments, and statues were created with the material of limestone. Limestone is primarily composed of calcium carbonate, and when coming in contact with acid rain, it may disintegrate and as a result deteriorating the engravings. Based on discoveries, the most and worst influenced monuments are situated where community businesses release sulfates and nitrates into the air, quickening decomposition closer to urbanization centers. One of our major challenges is that we cannot protect the limestone with a preventative coating due to the obligation to allow the limestone to breathe, absorbing water and humidity.
Oh, we're back. Thank you for sharing your view on acid rain, Dr. Rothstein. Now let's talk about something more on my level. Here to talk to you directly about the disadvantages of fossil fuels, my dearest friend Brooke Pence.
Thank you, Trump. When compounds are released into the air like sulfur, burning fossil fuels, and nitrogen oxide, acid rain is produced. This happens because the substances will rise to the atmosphere and mix with water, oxygen, and the chemicals mentioned above will end up turning to acid rain. I believe that the acid water takes the nutrients and minerals in soil and prevents trees and plants from using the acidic soil by washing them away. We are ingesting acid fruits and vegetables from the plants and trees. Acid rain turns water acidic and absorbs aluminum that would often make its way from the contaminated soil in lakes and rivers. Acid rain is a good conductor of electricity. To help power plants, oil refineries, and factories function, they need to burn these gases, creating dangerous emissions. 50% of garbage is made up of carbon mass. Carbon dioxide is a form of a nonmetal. Thank you for listening to my opinion on acid rain.
Bravo and bravo. Brooke Pence and myself are sure to make America great again. Finally, we have cattle rancher Worthy Anderson.
My name is Worthy Anderson, and I am a cattle rancher in Texas. Over the past decade, life on my ranch has been getting more difficult, and it's not because I'm getting older and I have arthritis. My problem is climate change, or more importantly, acid rain. Over the past decade, there's been a rise in temperatures which is causing longer and harsher droughts in Texas. I do not have enough grass to feed my cattle, as it grows more slowly or not at all. This is due to the acid rain. Acid rain does not usually kill plants directly. Instead, it weakens them by damaging their leaves, poisoning them with toxic substances that are slowly released by the soil, and limiting the nutrients that the plants receive. Across Texas, you can see the effects the acid rain is causing. Now, I am forced to import coastal grass to feed my herd. This is a necessary evil. Why should I pay hundreds of dollars for grass when it used to grow perfectly here? The costs to run my ranch are continuing to escalate, but my revenue is not coming in. I'm struggling to make a profit as beef continues to go in and out of fashion. My ranch has been passed down from generations, and I do not want to lose it. My family has been cattle ranchers since we first moved to the U.S. on the Mayflower. A couple of years ago, I went to my friend's cottage that is nestled on a beautiful lake. He was telling me how acid rain has been affecting the lake. It killed most of the fish and wildlife that lived around it or in the lake, and it has changed the ecosystem. As the acid rain flows through the soil, the acidic water can leach aluminum from the soil clay particles and flow into the lakes and streams. Another problem surrounding acid rain is that it does not stay in the same place. When the non-metal oxides are produced, they are transported by the wind, sometimes over hundreds of miles. This is why my farm is being affected by the acidic water. Scientists, engineers, and researchers are developing new ways to try and remediate the effects that these emissions have in the environment, but it's not happening quickly enough. My friend, who's an engineer, has told me about a proposal to remove all of the CO2 from the atmosphere, but this work is still in the beginning stages. I'm desperate for a way to save my family's ranch before it becomes bankrupt or damaged due to acid rain.
Well, Worthy, let's hear what the others have agreed on. What is the final verdict? Let's dial them up.
Canada produces about 573 million metric tons of carbon dioxide per year. This measures to be about 1.7% of the world's global GHG emissions. The United States, on the other hand, produces a total of 6,870 million metric tons of carbon per year. They produce the second highest amount of carbon emissions, which accumulates to be about 15% of the global GHG emissions.
Mexico produces about 665.3 million metric tons of carbon dioxide, totaling 1.38% of global GHG emissions, meaning they fall just behind Canada.
I do not really see a problem with this. That's not even a lot of emissions. We have been doing it for so long, so why change now? It will not even make a difference.
In fact, we have about 12 years to reverse the effects of climate change, or else we have no time.
Order in the court. What are you, children? We need to hear the final verdict.
I propose that we fine individuals and corporations for each ton of carbon they produce. This carbon tax will hopefully stop the release of excess CO2. If America wants to have a carbon tax of $80 per ton, then we can bring down the amount of carbon they produce to under 1,000 million metric tons per year. I think that this is a good place to start. Every year they can up the price of carbon tax and use more renewable energy until one day America can use only renewable energy sources.
That's also a great idea. For Canada and Mexico, they can have a carbon tax of $50 to reduce their carbon emissions to under 500 million metric tons, with scientists, engineers, and researchers working on ways to produce renewable energy at higher and more efficient rates. It is very likely the world will stop burning fossil fuels.
I guess I agree. Another idea is to broadcast ways to produce less.
We can tell people simple things they can change to help reduce plenty of CO2, causing there to be less acid rain. Things like turning off the lights when you leave a room, turning off computers and television when you're not using them, and showering quicker can all help reduce acid rain.
You heard it here, folks. The final verdict is against acid rain. The emissions have changed for the better. We will higher the wages for the workers. We will advertise, and advertise as much as we can to help get North America aware of this cause. And lastly, please from me, just try to cut down on how much energy you are using on your everyday lives. Maybe start to go for a nice stroll, take a shorter shower. This is all the time we have here. Peace out, Donald.